Thank you all for being here. Bless you.
Bless you, bless you. Yes, God bless you.
Speaking of blessings, we'd like to welcome Dr. Darren McClellan with Fairhope United Methodist Church to lead us in our opening prayer. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Councilman. Gracious God, we come before you this evening thankful for our many blessings, even as we are mindful of the needs within our community, for the gifts of rain. And even as we give thanks in the needs of our life, we remember those in Maui and other places of devastation. And so for the responsibility that is ours, for the citizenship of this community, we ask that you would give us the wisdom to read clearly the times and to know when the seeds of change will flourish. We ask that our work would be infused with passion and creativity, and that we might have the wisdom to balance our compassion and our challenges. Give us integrity, O God, of soul, mind, and heart, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Darren. We appreciate you being here. All right, Council. Item number 1 on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the July 24th regular City Council meeting, July 24th work session, and the minutes of the special called council meeting from August the 7th.
Council President, do we need to amend the agenda first to add that resolution to change the date of the August?
We do. I was going to do that after the minutes.
All right. I move to approve the minutes as submitted.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any additions, changes, or deletions from those minutes? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, Councilman Burrell, Councilman Burrell was referring to is we want to add agenda item, which will come in as number 31, to amend the schedule of upcoming meetings to change the regularly scheduled meeting from August 28th, which is a Monday, to August 29th, which is a Tuesday. We discussed that a little bit in the work session to accommodate some of the councilmen who have children playing local sports with the high school. But I will entertain a motion to move the time and date of that meeting.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Did we need a motion to amend the agenda to add that? No?
Was that? I thought that was a
Lisa,
motion.
did we need a motion to amend the agenda?
I thought that was amended.
Yeah, I thought that was the motion to amend the agenda, add it to
Oh, I
number
thought you said
31.
you were.
You said to move the time.
I thought that was the.
Oh,
resolution.
to add the moving of the meeting to the agenda.
Okay.
Yes,
Yep,
sorry.
so moved.
All right, got a motion and a second to add that item to the agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, added. All right, back to the agenda. Item number 2 is the mayor's report. Mayor Sullivan.
Thank you, Council. Last week was a pretty busy week. There's been a lot going on, at least for me. I don't know about for y'all, but for me there has been. First and foremost, I just want to thank all of our departments, police, public works, electric, for just a great start to school. We had a chance within the past 2 weeks to go by each school and visit with the principals. Me and Paige went by, and just always a lot of positive comments from them. But again, we spend a lot of time making sure, crosswalks are painted and trees are trimmed for the school buses, and, making sure the police are out there and they know about traffic patterns and everything, and just really haven't had, any complaints about the start of school. And we worked really hard with Fairhope Avenue to make sure it was open. So again, thank you to all the city staff and everything that they do every day for our citizens, but most important on that first day of school. Also this weekend, the Business Council of Alabama was in town down at the Grand Hotel. That brings in all the legislators from across the state to meet with business officials and just talk about, the political climate of our state and things that are happening. Governor Ivey was here. She's been here a couple times in the past several weeks, and just want to tell you how prideful it makes me to be down there and hear everybody talk about Fairhope and what a great place it is and how they all want to move here when they retire. I tell them it's okay to visit, but you got to go back home. But it's always really nice to hear all the nice comments and everything, and that's a tribute to, the council and the things that you've done, and to the staff and everything that they do every day here in Fairhope to make it just a place people want to visit. So thank you to everybody for that. The other thing, pickleball courts opened at Quail Creek last week. I think Councilman Conyers is maybe a pickleball ace in the hole. Apparently, he does a lot of practicing, I think, right, Councilman Robinson?
That is correct.
Yes, that is correct, yes. So, no.
It's the
it was-
only explanation for him
That's
beating me.
right, that's right, that's it. So, it's kind of fun to watch those two because they're pretty competitive. But it was, it's fun, the courts are great. I've been out there pretty much every night just to kind of check and gauge the crowd, and a lot of families out there, using them, so it's really nice to see. We have coffee with the mayor this week on the 16th. That's Wednesday at 9 o'clock at Quill Creek. Again, that's a great opportunity for people who don't feel comfortable getting up in a formal setting like the council meetings to come out and just ask some questions and be able to hear kind of an update on the city. We also, this week, this is a milestone for us, we are opening the bids on the waterfront project on the 15th. That is something that's been in the works since 2017, I believe. So that is a huge accomplishment to get those bids opened and to start hopefully working on that project. The next thing I want to address, and I'm sorry, I'm going to grab my phone because I have some notes there, is the water conservation. Obviously, we've all been taking a lot of criticism, me in particular, for putting in the water conservation order, and I know we're going to talk about that tonight. But I wanted to give everybody a little bit of information. Every time I talk about extreme temperatures and the weather pattern that we're seeing. And so my friend John Oldshoe actually put some information together for me that I just wanted to share, because obviously we're seeing growth. We all know that. But it's not just the growth that we are seeing that is, breaking records. It's also the rainfall and the temperatures. So let's see, for the months of July and August in 2023, Fairhope is running at a rainfall deficit of 10.78 inches. We typically see close to 70 inches a year. As compared to July and August of 22, the rainfall totals for July and August of 23 in Fairhope is 19 inches below where it has been in the past. It rained 23 days in July of 2022 and 24 days in August in 2022. It's rained 15 days in July of 23 and 2 days so far in August. So you can see that we are definitely not seeing the rainfall that we need to see. The average rainfall for Fairhope in the month of July is 9 inches. The average rainfall in Fairhope in the month of August is 7 inches. The total rainfall for Fairhope in July of 22 was 9 inches and August of 22 was 14 inches. A combined rainfall total for the 2 months is 24 inches. The total rainfall in Fairhope for July of 23 was 4.89 inches, and so far in August we've had 0.52 inches. A combined rainfall total in 2 months of 5.41 inches of rain, which is unheard of. Temperature summary. Just to give y'all some other impacts, the high temperature in Fairhope has exceeded 95 degrees on 20 out of the last 30 days since July 15th. The normal high for that time period is 92 degrees. The average high temperature in Fairhope in July is 91. Fairhope was below the average high on 2 days and met the average high on 2 days and exceeded it for 26 out of 30 days in July. The average high temperature in Fairhope in August is 92. All 14 days in August so far have exceeded that high temperature average. So when we talk about, we're not only seeing, we don't have enough rain right now. We have excessive heat temperatures, which we all know. But again, the growth is a factor, but we have not seen these kind of temperatures or the lack of rainfall in quite a number of years. So again, all those playing together is what's creating the situation that we have. We have been putting together frequently asked questions from my office because we are probably exceeding 25 calls a day if people want to know things like, can I use my soaker hose? The answer is no. Can I power wash today? The answer is no. Can I wash my car today? The answer is no. So, I'm getting a lot of calls. Had a call today from a gentleman who wants to find out where he can get a water truck from. Our grass is dying too. My grass at home is dying. My bushes are dying. My azaleas are dying. I understand it. We're all right there with you. We all live in Fairhope. Obviously, the council lives here. They don't want to have to conserve water either. But unfortunately, this is the situation that we're in. We're all in it together. And I know that y'all are going to be discussing that tonight. But again, I think it's just a perfect combination of the lack of rain, the excessive temperatures, and again, the growth that we're seeing. We do have the well in place, it's going to be in place. It's being built right now. I was out there, I did a video to let everybody know what's going on with it. Happy to always answer any questions if somebody wants to call my office versus putting something incorrect out on social media. Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, guys, item number 3 is public participation for agenda items. So if you have something to discuss that's on tonight's agenda, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
My name is Joe Rutleski. I live at 14 Paddock Drive in Fairhope. I've been a resident of this great city for 21 years. Okay, I came here first in 1983, so I've been visiting and living here for 40 years. And my concern this evening, Mayor, is, with all due respect, is about the emergency action on the water. Okay, people I'm talking to in our area over on that side of town really don't understand what's going on and know it. They know it's been hot and they know water has been limited, but like when the request, you were on TV requesting that we conserve water, okay? But there is no way for any of us to know what the status of the system is, what levels are, what does conserve really mean? I think in this packet, the phase 2 is really a key step that we should be taking, okay? And I say that because, like you just said, all your plants are dying, grass is dying and everything. I took a hard hit from Hurricane Sally when that thing came through. I had a big oak tree in my front yard that landed in my bedroom about 5 o'clock in the morning. And it's crushed the end of the house. So when Tom got everything cleaned up and it's starting to grow again, there's no shade. So now I was gone over the weekend to go see my grandchildren in Marietta, Georgia. When I got back, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's brittle. If I walk on it, it'll break. And that's where we're at. So I think there's a need for some just short bits of communication coming out from whoever the right people are. Because in my mind, I spent a number of years operating large chemical plants and retired as a plant manager from a pretty large one up the road. And there are when you have pumping systems, you have level controls, you have pressure controls, you know where you're at all the time. And this seems like we were just terribly surprised by the tank being empty. Okay, and that's that was the impression I had, and that's what I've heard from some of my neighbors over that way. So I think people can deal with it if they understand what's really happening. And there is no doubt a lot of discussion about, well, all the, I just drove down Highway 13 before I went out of town, or County Road 13, and I'm looking at all this new pipe that's laying out there for the addition of that one big subdivision to the east side of 13, and then you come down a little bit further towards 104, and you see where another one is getting ready to be built. There's a pipe stacked up out there. I really don't know where the new well's at, or what its capacities are, or what the expectation is. But, to me, it sounds like if we can't fill the tank after a week, and have a good water supply, it sounds like we've got a pumping capacity problem. It's not just time, right? Because pumping is gallons per minute. It's a volume and time function. And I just don't think there's enough information out there. And I don't know where we're really at on that. I don't know, you're talking about the new well, and you're looking at 2 million gallons. I don't know what that really does when you look at current usage plus, taking the flyer out for this extreme weather. And this may be what we have going out for a long, long time. So the need for having, a good clear understanding of the system and how that's operating, I think would be very helpful, and it's not out there. So people don't know, you know, I guess there's a question of, is it really the usage we're pulling out of it, the people that have been living here? Or is it something to do with all the new expansion and construction that's been going on, and it will continue to go on, right? Because it's, you know, like the place on Highway 98, it's huge. They even sent me an invitation to see if I wanted to live there, you know? I turned it down.
Can you tell me where you get your communication from?
My communication, I look at the app, the
Okay.
Fairhope app,
Okay.
and that's where I look at. And that's where I found the information on your, for this meeting tonight.
Okay.
Okay, that's where I'm getting at. But, and I hear you, you know, when you're on the news, when you're getting interviewed, and I understand that you're frustrated with it. But, you know, but I'm looking at you and I'm talking to you on the TV saying, you know, well, tell us what's really going on. I know we're out, you know, we got a water issue, but is there a pump capacity problem? Is it a line transmission problem? You know, has the lines been pigged lately? Do they need to be? Right? Everybody knows what that is, right? No, seriously, that's how you clean the lines. Okay, you launch the pig and it goes through and it'll scour the inside of those lines.
I think you'll get a lot more information tonight,
Okay.
for sure.
So I should sit down?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, seeing no one, I will close public participation and go into council comments. Councilman Burrell.
Yeah, I just want to say, when we get to the that ordinance, to amend the ordinance on the books now, we plan on giving you a good bit more information tonight and even some insights. I'll answer just one insight. I'll give you a data point. Mayor, you sent the council some numbers this morning, the 7.6 million. Was that yesterday, I believe, or the day before? So yesterday, where are we at with this water conservation ordinance, for instance? Yesterday, we pumped 7.6 million gallons of water, which was 85% of capacity. So 80% triggers phase one, 90% triggers phase two, and in the current ordinance, 100% triggers phase three. We're looking at revising that downward to 95%. And you could pick 70, 80, 90. You could pick 100 different numbers to put in there. We didn't want to be overly conservative and or overly non-conservative, and we'll talk about that in more detail. So even with the measures in place, we were still, with people supposed to be conserving water, we're still at 85% of capacity. Now, we have data that shows, you know, how much of that is being used for irrigation. And we don't really know that exactly, but we know how much the sewer plant is treating, which is about half of that. So we know that about half of our usage is irrigation, and that doesn't count the water that's going on the ground of irrigation that doesn't come through the sewer plant. So it could be, you know, more than that. So it's just, you know, the mayor and the staff especially, they monitor these numbers daily. It would have been really nice to go from phase one to phase two, and if possible, you know, if necessary, phase three. But we went from 70-something% usage to like 80, and boom, as soon as this drought hit, it went straight, it pegged at 100%. And maybe even a few percentages over 100% of capacity. So that's why Council President called the special meeting and we enacted that. We couldn't afford to wait for the ordinance to kick in. We had to take some action. And we can address growth. Is it growth? And we have some indicators. Remember, all the growth goes on in the county outside the city, and that old catch-22, if you watch many planning commission meetings or council meetings, you'll know that they'll say, well, we'll annex into the city, we'll build a subdivision and annex, or we'll stay in the county and build it anyway. And that's the problem we have. You know, we have so much growth just beyond our municipal limits that it would tax our system, whether they were in the county or in the city. We've put at least 3 moratoriums on construction. We had the most recent moratorium was on those areas just beyond our municipal limits. And then Senate Bill 107 came back and took that jurisdiction away from us, which eliminated that moratorium. So there's a lot of things that have happened that are even beyond our control. We need to talk about growth. We need to talk about maybe future moratoriums, but we can't control that beyond our borders right now, which is where the explosive growth is taking off. You mentioned it. You mentioned out there on 13 and 32. I would encourage somebody to drive down Highway 33. It's down Highway 33 past Red Barn Road, where you'll see the new water treatment plant going in. 24-inch water main. It is a little bit, we do need to be able to distribute that water because a lot of it is our distribution system. So we're working to bring 2 million gallons a day back into the city, which is, we have a capacity of roughly 9 million, so 2 nights are 22.2%. That's increasing our capacity by 22.2%, which is not a small number. And we're looking at other ways to get more water. And these things were approved years ago. It's just taken that long to put this in the ground. We didn't react and say, all right, let's dig a well. I mean, this has been going on for years. So, yeah, well, it passed and funded in 22, but I mean, the discussion was had. You can go back to when we enacted this water ordinance in 2020. The ordinance, and I'm sorry I'm getting long-winded, it's very important though to me. When we enacted the ordinance, it wasn't perfect. We were given a plan. We met on a special meeting for an hour. I went back and reviewed the video the other day. We talked about the ins and outs. We knew at that time it wouldn't be perfect, but we knew we needed something in place. We're going to hopefully make it a little bit better tonight. It probably won't be perfect, and it's certainly not going to make everybody happy. As the mayor pointed out, the council, we're users as well. Our yards are dying, our plants are dying, and I promise you, we'll be the last person out there you'll catch with a hose in our hand. So it was tough, and we know it is. And hopefully this will be a one-time deal. Hopefully when we get some rain, this will dissipate, and then we'll have the new supply online by hopefully March of 24, and we won't have this problem. And we're not going to just stop with this new water supply. We're going to look at possibly recycling water, reclaiming water, other sources of water, potentially another well, potentially another water tower, and we're working those things. But it could be, I even asked the question, you mentioned the efficiency of the pumps. I even asked the question, are our pumps operating at 100%, or are they worn out and they're running at maybe 80%? Can we get a little more? Can we open up a well that we had to close because it had higher iron limits? Staff and the mayor is not leaving any rock unturned that I know of, because the citizens are hammering her, they're hammering us, we're hammering her, she's hammering the staff. I mean, nobody's perfect, but they're really, really trying to help out the situation. That's all, Council President.
Councilman Martin?
I don't have anything.
Jimmy?
I don't have anything.
Kevin?
I'm good.
We're going to talk plenty about it, I think, when we get to item number 7, which will be 6 now because we're taking off number 5. But just to kind of give you a few more data points, going into Monday, and Mayor, you can correct me if these are wrong. I took this, I think, from what you sent me. Is Monday we had used 8.7 million gallons, and this was several days in a row leading up to that, which caused us to have that meeting. But following the enacting of that emergency ordinance, we went down to 8.1 million gallons on Tuesday, 7.7 million gallons on Wednesday, 7.1 on Thursday, 7.3 on Friday, and then back up to 7.5 and 7.6 on Saturday and Sunday. And now that I don't think is unusual, because I think we typically have a higher water usage on the weekends. And it's because not everybody either knows of the ordinance or is choosing to comply with it. And I don't know that anybody's been ticketed at this point, but I think there may have been some warnings issued. But the bottom line is this wasn't done in a vacuum. This wasn't done without considering the negative ramifications to it. Trust me, I think when I was provided this information and the idea for even having to do this came up, I think my question was, is there any other choice other than making this decision. And ultimately, at that time, the answer was no. But it's something that we've never had to do before. And it's hopefully something that we never have to do again. But unfortunately, we are in the situation where, in the environment that we are in right now, it was the only choice we had to let us have the essential functions for water that we do need. But again, we're going to talk, more about this obviously in a few minutes, but I just wanted to show you guys that it wasn't done without any thought, and it wasn't done without any response, because obviously it worked. Getting us back to where we are typically, where we typically operate on a day-to-day basis, assuming normal weather patterns and weather conditions, even with the growth that we've obviously had. All right. Moving forward, item number 5 has been withdrawn from the agenda at the applicant's request. Item number 6 is final adoption for an ordinance to amend ordinance number 1510, known as the Personnel Rules, Policies, and Procedures Ordinance, Section 7, time off from work, 7.01, paid holidays, and birthday paid day off. And this was introduced on the July 24th work session. Man, that feels like that was introduced a long time ago, doesn't it? Council, we didn't talk about it in the work session. We ran out of time, but obviously for those watching, we added 2.5 days to our holidays, paid time off, to get the city in line with the rest of the paid holidays for other local municipalities.
Make a motion, we approve the ordinance.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
And those holidays were Juneteenth and I think.
Mardi Gras Day,
Mardi Gras Day,
and then a full
then a
day
full
for
day
Christmas
for-
Eve.
That's right.
Correct.
Just for the record.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
I need to call
Oh,
the
it's an
vote.
adoption. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Place
Order.
1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3,
Aye.
Council President,
Aye.
place 5.
Aye.
All right. All right, thank you, Lisa. All right, item number 7 is an ordinance to amend ordinance number 1682, an emergency water conservation plan for users of the City of Fairhope water system, specifically code sections 10.5-54, 10.5-55, and 10.5-56.
I'll introduce the ordinance.
Thank you, Jack. And Jack, I'll let you start. Councilman Burrell spent a lot of time, I think it was on Thursday of last week, really trying to analyze this and get it in a situation, maybe specify it a little more and really get it into a place that's maybe a little better than where it started. Again, like you said, it's not going to be perfect, but we're working on it. Jack, I'll go ahead and let you discuss some of the changes.
I'm going to kind of run through this, and I'm going to hit the high points, and there's going to be quite a few. On the phase 1, 2, and 3, we had water demand averages of 80%, 90%, and then 100%. Well, when you get to 100%, it's a little late, so we amended that, or this is proposing to amend that to 80%, 90%, and 95%. And, you could lower the demand for phase 1 to, say, 70 or 75, but we didn't want to be overly conservative. You could maybe split the difference between 80 and 95 and, go to 87% or something like that for phase 2, but then that's kind of splitting hairs. But the biggest change is that we said instead of 7 consecutive days, we're stating now that we would hit these phases if we reach these demand averages in 7 out of 10. And the reason is that let's say there was a question of whether we went into phase 2 and we had been over 90% for 6 days in a row, and on the 7th day we dropped down to 89% or 88%. Well, that would start the clock back over. We'd have to go another 7 days. In the meantime, those days may be at 95 or 100%. So we realized that we needed something more like 7 out of 10 days so that clock doesn't reset and put us in a bind. We considered 5 out of 10, 5 out of 7, 3 out of 5, and we ultimately thought that 7 out of 10 was the best compromise. Once again, not perfect. We'll see how it works out. We're offering to change the ordinance as it's written now to something to be better. And, we've only had to enact the ordinance one time in 3 years. So, we learn as we go sometimes. I think I covered the 95% for Phase 3. Something I want to point out, we get this question a lot. If you have a new lawn or landscaping, you're exempt from this ordinance from 30 days after planting. So if you just invested a lot of money in a new lawn, you are allowed to water that lawn for 30 days from the date of planting. Next change is under the washing of private vehicles. We hear you people. A lot of people said, I can't water my yard, but I can wash my car. And that was supposedly on certain days of the week. We realized, that doesn't make any sense. So we just made washing of vehicles strictly prohibited during Phase 3. So we heard you loud and clear. We agree with you, citizens. We changed the filling of swimming pools slightly, and this is one of those, I don't know that any of us are real happy about saying you can fill a pool. Well, we said what we mean is topping off of a swimming pool. If you have an empty pool and you want to fill it, you're going to have to get permission from the city of Fairhope. But the reason that the topping off of pools was specifically put in there is because if your water level in your pool goes below a certain level and your pumps are running, it's going to burn your pumps up. It's going to cost you a lot of money. And we thought, well, maybe you just need to turn your pumps off. And we thought about the fact that your pool is going to turn green, and then you're going to have to spend a lot of, thousands of dollars on chemicals. I think all of us would consider taking that out altogether and not allowing any filling of pools. But the old ordinance had some component of filling pools in there, so we just tried to clean that up a little bit on that. And council, if y'all want to jump in on that one, that was probably the most difficult part of editing this ordinance.
Yeah, I think just from the conversations I've had, and hearing you explain it, Jack, I think reiterates some of that. And I think if you talk to somebody who doesn't have a swimming pool and the idea of risking burning up my pumps or spending a couple $1,000s to fix it and get it back in repair after it's turned green without the pumps on, I think a lot of people would say, well, I've got to reinvest in my lawn several $1,000s after not being able to water it. So what's the difference in them investing in cleaning their pools and me investing in redoing or taking care of my grass? And so, that's one I don't really know what the right answer is, because I definitely see the problems on both sides.
So, the grass, it'll come back. The swimming pool pump is not coming back unless you pay for it. Unless it's new lawn, and I think we wrote it to where if you have lawn that has not rooted, that you can water that lawn for 30 days.
Yes, it's 30 days.
Yes, and another thing I think was the inconsistencies as far as the volume goes. Everybody irrigates their lawn, and usually around the same times. The pattern of people topping off their pools is not that voluminous, in my opinion, and I think we can do that research, but we know that the irrigation, this is the thought process I'm talking about. We know that the irrigation times, that everybody does at the same time, and it takes up a lot of volume. We don't know that same volume is taken up on a consistent basis where everybody all at once is topping off a pool. In logic. And I think that's where that logic came from.
I don't own a pool, for the record, but I've seen a lot of modern pools, and they all have automatic water levelers in there, and they're usually in one of the, what do you call it, where you have the strainers in there, but usually it's under the concrete or in the deck of the pool somewhere. You'll never see it on. It automatically fills just a little at a time. It's going to be really hard to enforce that anyway. you know, but they automatically top themselves off now for the most part. So, you know, even if you outlawed it, it would be going on. You'd never catch them. I mean, you'd have to have code enforcement officers going around to everybody's pool and open it up to see if their filler is running. I mean, it's just not even practical. All right. Any more comments on that? That's a very difficult one, though. On the Phase 3, Phase 1 and 2 restrictions would remain in effect until the opposite of the usage occurred for 7 out of 10 days. Now, Phase 3 is a little bit different. And we started thinking about this when the mayor said, look, our usage is going down. So we got down below 90% for a couple of days. And the prior ordinance said that if you were at or below the essentially 100% for 7 consecutive days, then that phase would be eliminated. Well, the very virtue of the fact that we're enforcing the ordinance causes the usage to go below whatever that threshold being. So as soon as you say we've eliminated or we've met that threshold, the usage, unless Mother Nature provides some rain, the usage is going to be pegged at 100% again. I mean, as long as we're in this heat and drought. Only 2 things could happen to fix it: rain or an increase in capacity. We're not going to have an increase in capacity until March 2024. So the other option is rain. So we wrote in there that for Phase 3, it would not be lifted until demand averages at or below 95% of capacity for 7 out of 10 days, and, not or, and 1.5 inches of rain are received within a 7-day period. Why 1.5 inches of rain in a 7-day period? There's a little bit of hand waving here. The lawn needs about 1 inch of rain every 7 days to survive this heat, according to the horticulturist that I did consult with. But if it rained 1 inch in 1 day and didn't rain again for, say, another week, well, then the lawn is going to start dying again. So we didn't want to say 2 inches or 3 inches. We thought that was too much. So we came back with 1.5 inches. It's a little bit of a guess. We probably could have written a 20-page formula for when we're going to get out of that, but we wanted to come up with something simple that people could understand and follow, and we'll need to communicate this. So it's 7 out of 10 days below the 95% of capacity and 1.5 inches of rain within a 7-day period, whether that's 1/4 inch for 7 days or whether it's 1.5 inches in 1 day. Let's see. I think we talked about how to get out of that. Violations, first-time offense, and this is slightly different. Instead of having to go before a judge to be sentenced, the fines are just stated in the ordinance, where first time is a warning, second time is $300, and a third and subsequent offenses would be $500. That pretty much spells out the fines without someone having to go to court and having to be a burden on the court. We wanted to have a little bit of an elastic clause in there to say that, you know, if we needed to vote on a change, things were looking better. For instance, let's say it rained 4 or 5 days in a row and it rained 2 or 3 inches every day, but we haven't been below a capacity for 7 out of 10 days. The council may want to convene and say we're going to lift all restrictions. That's covered. In all of these phases, it says restrictions will remain in effect until lifted by the governing body or until the demand. So we have the trigger mechanism in there, but it also says it could be lifted by the governing body. That would also give us the opportunity, dare I say this, but an example would be, let's say everybody was being very compliant and our water tanks filled up and water usage went down to 3, 4, 5 million gallons a day, which is more typical in a non-summer month, and we had plenty of water and we wanted everybody to save the yard, we could say, all right, for the next week, you people can water on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the other people can water on Mondays and Wednesdays, just to give everybody a break, because we feel like we can fill up our water tanks again. So we wanted to have some elasticity in that. I think that covers all the revisions.
Yeah, Jack, and let me just say, obviously, I think when you look at the old ordinance versus what we're considering tonight, part of the problem is, and sir, I forgot your name. Tell me again.
Joe.
Joe. I think you're exactly right, and part of the problem was, we were in a voluntary stage, and we went straight from voluntary stage to mandatory water emergency. Nobody water their grass. And so obviously, the way you hope that works is that you are able to step that phase up gradually and let everybody know where we are so that maybe everybody will be a little more diligent in cutting back and conserving water. Unfortunately, like Jack mentioned, it went from voluntary to extreme within that 3 days without any rain or end in sight, which necessitated us taking the action that we did. My hope would be, and then even looking now at what we've have in front of us tonight, is under the current ordinance, if my numbers were right, we went under the necessary usage on Wednesday of last week, is that right? At the 7.7 million gallons. So technically, we would come out of that after Tuesday of this week. If usage is down today and then again tomorrow, it would revert back to 2 under the old ordinance, which would then allow odd numbers to water on one day, even numbers to water on another day with no watering over the weekend. Under the revisions, though, we'd have to have those 7 days plus some sort of rain event. And
Makes sense, though.
well, it does to maintain that, and my thought would be this, just as an idea, I mean, and Jack just mentioned the idea of council making a decision to either, it reverts automatically under those conditions or the governing body decides. Assuming the usage numbers stay consistent, as sort of a test run, assuming we came out of this on Tuesday was the last day, then Wednesday, anybody with an odd number could water their grass. Thursday, anybody with an even number could water their grass. And then we have the whole weekend to nobody water, and we get back up to speed. Everybody gets a little bit of juice for the grass, maybe save what they've got, and then give ourselves time to replenish. Now, obviously, I think the concern with that is everybody who's got an odd number grass on that, odd number address on that day is going to be watering from sun up to sundown to get as much juice in that grass as they can.
Yes.
And so then usage pegs out again at 100% or even more, even staggering the.
Right.
But my worry is, or my I guess the concern is, we've got, what'd you say, Mayor, 0.2 inches of rain this month? 0.52. So we're in day 14. What if we get another 0.52 the rest of the month? We'll still be in this until September. And, even if the usage is down to 6 million gallons a day, we're still under this emergency ordinance. I mean, I get it. I get the concern is that as soon as we say go, everybody turns the hose on at the same time, and we're flooding the streets of Fairhope because everybody's watering their grass. Sure, please.
No, I'm listening, and it's a lot of good work what you're doing, I believe. But one of the other things with refilling the tanks, if you will, in the low rainfall, is the recharge rate of the well, right? There's an aquifer, or a number of aquifers, that we're drawing water from. And with the lack of rain, they're going to be low. So this is going to be a problem as long as there's a problem with rainfall, or a shortage of it. Jack, you mentioned, the concern about the swimming pools, how people feel about that. One of the things that was in the communication that came out, Jerry, was that, no irrigation, including gardens. So you look at this piece of paper, and you're saying, is it more important to put water in the swimming pool than it is to water a garden? Well, some people are probably depending on that garden for their vegetables. And they're also trying to teach their children about, how do you take care of yourself? And we're going to sit there and burn up the garden too. And that's not a big water usage. So along the lines of when people turn the water on, let them just flood everything out. Set a time limit on it. If you're going to go watering odd and even, and just if you're on, if your number is ends in an even number, you can water for a total of 1 hour or 2 hours, on a given day, and hold it at that. And that's easy enough to observe if people want to go observe.
We do have, for the record, there are hours that you can irrigate in here. They're specified that there's
So it
a,
limits it that way.
yeah, it does establish that, yes, sir. We didn't change it, so I didn't mention it, so that wasn't a change.
Well, and let's also, kind of clear some of this up again, and Mayor, if I'm saying something that's incorrect, correct me. But my understanding is that part of what the reduced usage is designed to do is to help these tanks refill so that we're all getting good, clean, clear water and adequate pressure, which seems to have returned to normal, correct? And so the idea that we were, I guess, quote, running out of water was not really true. It just was, we weren't giving it adequate time to refill these tanks so that we could get the adequate pressure and the clear water and not the brown water that some of us experienced on Monday and Tuesday of last week.
And so, Jay, that's where I'm afraid. I hear you. I don't think there's a easy answer to this, but in my opinion, I think we're talking about a first world problem right here, and I think we're a little bit vain in what we're thinking, because we could go into a third world problem if we continue to be vain about putting our drinking water on the ground. And I'm just going to put that out there. I understand that there are some people that are trying to feed plants for eating. That's a different thing, but I don't think that's the majority, in my opinion, and I may be wrong. At this point, with no rain, that cycle of going back without any rain and allowing those tanks to fill will affect also our drinking water if we're not careful, because we want to irrigate the yard. So, you gotta, that's a game that we're playing right now, unfortunately, but we have to talk about it and you have to be transparent about it. So I think prudence is the best right now. We'll continue to take considerations because we're all trying to see this thing through, but to worry about the grass dying, which it will grow back, and I understand some people find their grass very important, but I think drinking and having water to drink is a little bit more important, being that I've seen places that actually don't have drinking water. So, we need to be careful about that.
I just want to go back to, the best number I heard was 7.1 million gallons. That was the best number I heard. That's 79.77, or 80% of capacity, which in of itself would trigger voluntary water conservation. And then yesterday's number, which was a weekend, we were back up to 85%. So even odd watering of lawns, I mean, I just think that's going to tip the balance. I'd love to say we're going to go from 85% to 88%, but my mind tells me it's going to go from 85% to 100 or 105%, because there's pent-up demand right now. There's a massive amount of pent-up demand. Everybody that's odd or even is going to go. Even people that don't normally water their lawns because they're trying to they're trying to salvage it. I mean, like, I don't really water my yard, but, you know, when it gets extreme drought, that's when I start wanting to, and I think there's a lot of people that'll be in that category. So I don't know that we're to the point of enacting something to give people relief beyond where we're at right now. I'd love to say we had a few days at 5 or 6 million and we could give everybody a water holiday, but I don't know if we're there. Just don't know if we're there. You think we're there, Councilman Martin?
In my opinion, I wouldn't know rain in the future and those wells been in. I think we'll go back to ground zero again. I think we'll repeat the cycle again, in my opinion, to where, like Jay said, where you have brown water coming out of the faucet or whatever you're drinking. So, and that, you know, I'm not an expert, but we've already seen it once. So we have to believe when we see a zebra, it's a zebra.
Councilman Conyers, Councilman Boone?
I guess I just, you know, I think it's sort of a two-part problem. One is the immediate now, what do we do? And I think the main thing to me in this proposed amendment to the trigger was that you enact phase 3 at 95%. I think when we hit 100%, by then you're in such a hole, trying to dig out of it is really difficult. The other thing, though, and I know people have been addressing this, is okay, what do you do about tomorrow being in the future? And if you look at the 2 million gallons a day that the new well will have the capacity for, that takes us up to about 11 million gallons a day in capacity. And if we've been running somewhere in the 7 to 9 million range, and you start factoring in growth, because we do know there are subdivisions and apartments and commercial projects all coming online. I mean, we probably need to be identifying that spot for the next well and or water tank right now. I mean, and I know we've had that conversation, but I think that by the time we get this one up and running, we'll be in need of at least identifying, because of the time that it's taken. And Councilman Burrell mentioned that earlier. I mean, this isn't, last week we decided we need to get a well dug. I mean, we've been talking about this for years, and the wheels have been in motion. It's just a slow process. So I think looking for that next one probably needs to start now as well, while we're trying to get this one online.
Mayor? Sorry, Kevin.
I think everything's been said. I mean, what am I going to add to it?
I just wanted to help people understand how these ordinances are enforced. So once the council enacts an ordinance, they put it in place, me as the mayor, I have to execute that, and staff. So the way the current ordinance has read is that once the water usage reaches a certain threshold, and that was for 7 consecutive days, then this phase is enacted, then phase 2, then phase 3. Well, there was no provisions in there like the current ordinance for like 7 out of 10 days. So once it was below that 90% or whatever, then it starts all over. So that's where the problem was. We pulled down basically from August 1st through the 6th. We used 8.1, 8.4, 7.8, 8.9, 8.5, and 8.7 million gallons. So it actually reset on the 7.8 day because it was right in between those numbers. So you reset, and so then you have to start back all over for those 7 consecutive days. So that was some of the problems. So I think this is really going to help, having the 7 out of 10 days. The other thing is enforcement. You know, people keep calling my office like, how are you going to enforce this? How are you going to enforce this? Well, we're utilizing things, code enforcement's going around looking. They're actually divvying up the city and driving around and looking at areas. We have the police department on notice. You know, all of our employees are on notice. People are self-policing. Their neighbors are calling on their neighbors. I mean, we're like, don't get in an argument with them. Let us go out and see them. But we literally have people challenging our code enforcement on the street. They're like, make me. I mean, that's how they're talking to our employees. They're chasing our water truck. We're pulling that water out of the wells at Quail Creek from the ponds and stuff. We bought pumps to be able to do that. They're chasing the water truck, like harassing our driver, wanting to know where he's getting his water from at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's ridiculous what we're having to deal with. And all we're doing is asking people not to irrigate their lawns.
That's it.
It's ridiculous. But this is what myself and the staff are dealing with every single day. And it's frustrating, very frustrating. But the other thing I will say is, we also have to think about things like health care. Thomas Hospital calling with low pressure. I mean, you've got people in the middle of surgery who might need irrigation or whatever, and they're calling with low pressure. I mean, there's a much bigger picture here that people are not paying attention to. And all we're asking is they do not irrigate their lawns. Thank you for the work you put in on the ordinance. I think it's going to be helpful, and hopefully it'll be something that we can enforce and enact and people will pay attention to. Thank you.
So, this is, the young Joe mentioned it, and I've been screaming it, and we're not going to get into the weeds, but we have to have a solution, and we're thinking about that now. We've invested in having conversations with people smarter than ourselves, but we see that this pattern is becoming a pattern, and when you see a pattern, you have to believe it. If you don't, then shame on you. But just continuously digging holes and tapping the resources, because we can't be the long-term solution. And I'm gonna put that out there. We have to come up with another solution to where we're not using our drinking water and the water that you use for healthcare and other high priority situations to put on our lawn. I don't mind people watering their lawn, but the problem is we're mixing uses right now. And I think we have to separate those uses priority-wise and come up with a solution. And we are people actively thinking and working about that solution. If you have any solutions, if you know some answers, call, talk to us. That's what we're here for. We represent you. But we are working and thinking about that. And we're not just thinking that, we're just digging another hole, and 100 years from now, they don't have any water. Shame on us. We're not going to think that way. We're going to think 50 to 100 years down the road, try to find a long-term solution. And right now, the short-term solution is the well, but the long-term solution is not that, because we don't want to use our resources because we have them. That's very vain.
But we have identified an area for yet another well. We've already been talking to the geologist about that to look at another aquifer. I actually talked to Councilman Boone about that a little bit because it's near where he used to live. So, yeah, we've already identified another site. We'll be doing some test borings to make sure we can get the water that we need, and then we'll be coming to you probably pretty quickly with a plan for another well.
Mayor, probably not the time to bring it up, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Sure.
Are you looking in the area, I'll speak into the mic, but we have the water tower over by Fairhope East Elementary. I believe that substation, if I'm not mistaken, is going to come completely offline when the Morphy Avenue, is that going to stay up, or is that coming offline? The Morphy Avenue, the Fairhope Avenue substation by the elementary school.
Staying up.
That is staying up?
It is.
Do we have enough room? I mean, there's an aquifer that's in that vicinity, and we have a tower there. I mean, can we have the geologists at least test for water there?
We can look at it.
It may nix the idea. I thought if that substation was going away, we'd have a room for a treatment plant there, but we may not have that much room.
Well, and the other thing, obviously we've seen a lot, read a lot, heard a lot about this issue that we're having. But I'd like to say, going back to when most of us were elected, 4, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever it was, I think the first thing presented to us was the need to upgrade infrastructure because it had been so long since those things were done. And those are things that we have been, I think the first thing we did were to order studies to determine what needed to be done and what needed to be upgraded. And then those studies were done and carried out. And then I feel like for the past 4 years, we've been approving project after project after project to upgrade every area of infrastructure that the city has. And we have done a large majority of those things, but it does take time. When you're talking about the exponential growth that has occurred, and I'm not talking about in the last 4 years, I'm talking about in the last 15, 20 years. you've got to have time to catch up to that, and that's what we've been dealing with. And not only have we been dealing with upgrading and setting those things right, we had to do so in the middle of one of the largest supply chain crises ever during COVID. And so all of those things slowed down. And so there are plans in place, and there have been plans in place to do upgrades citywide across all areas of our infrastructure, whether it's gas, water, electric, wastewater. And I would challenge you to find another municipality that has spent more time, money, resources in the last 4 to 6 years that has done more to make those upgrades. But unfortunately, despite all that, we're dealing with an issue like this that nobody ever wants to deal with. And so we hope that it's a temporary issue. We hope that it's something, despite this new ordinance, this revised ordinance that we're presenting tonight, we hope it's something that never has to be discussed again once we can get up and increase this capacity and continue to look to ways to increase it moving forward. But it just takes time. And I said it on the radio, and I'll say it again. You know, be patient. It's not easy. I mean, look, I'm going to drive home. I'm going to walk through my brittle yard, and look at that sad excuse for a front yard. And, and it's awful. And I hate it for everybody that's upset about it, because it's upsetting to us. And I wish I had a crystal ball or a magic water truck to come out and water everybody's grass, but unfortunately, we live in the real world, and this is the real life situation we're dealing with. And so I get a little frustrated when I read or hear that it's, stop growth, poor planning, because even though there are some truth to that, there is some truth to that, absolutely. It's not the whole story, and there have been an extreme effort to plan on how to get this upgraded and moving in the right direction, but it does take time, and we're working on it. Anybody else?
I guess while we're just having discussion, the ordinance has only been introduced.
It's been introduced, yeah.
Yeah, I introduced it, but, I do suggest we have a motion for immediate
I was
consideration.
gonna
but I do
suggest
wanna-
that, because
but-
otherwise you gotta wait 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
not.
I do want to, though, go a step beyond that and talk about when it will take effect, because I've been talking to the clerk, and she tells me that there is some advertising requirements, but I don't
14
know,
days.
is that required if there's an emergency declared?
It still has to be advertised.
Okay.
During an emergency,
You said it because, I think you told me it was because it was an ordinance permanent in nature.
Correct.
But is it, I guess it's permanently in place until it's repealed, but it's kind of, it's also temporary measures. I
Doesn't
don't
make
know if that
sense.
would get us out of that situation. So this won't take effect for,
I think August 23rd is when I can get it in the newspaper.
yeah, and then 2 weeks after that, right?
No, no,
That makes sense, emergency.
nope.
I'm
Once
just
the mayor
thinking,
signs it, and then I put it in the newspaper,
That
the
day.
soonest thing I can do is the 16th and for the 23rd.
Okay.
So the August 23rd, it would be in place.
So 9 days.
Correct.
Well, let me ask you this.
But
That's something we probably.
I was
need
gonna
to-
say-
The usage is below the threshold.
That's right.
so
That's what I was gonna
That's
say.
my thought is,
I
it's
say that's a
gonna,
real problem.
That doesn't make
but
sense
y'all
to
have
me.
to,
We need
y'all
look
would
into
have to
that.
declare, say it stays in phase 3.
Yeah, I mean.
Yes, okay, I
Yeah.
think you have to do that.
Yeah, we'd
to
have to
stay
declare
in.
an emergency
That's
again.
correct. Not declare an emergency,
you
but
said
just say
just
that it stays in phase 3.
Right.
Yes.
for the time being, it stays in,
until the
stays in
tw-
phase
right.
3 till otherwise decided by the council.
Or until
Of
it
the
meets
old
the
ordinance.
parameters of the new ordinance. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to move we suspend with the rules and vote on the ordinance to amend ordinance number 1682 tonight.
For immediate consideration. Okay. Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Clerk, will you call the question?
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3.
Aye.
Council President,
Aye.
place 5.
I move for final adoption of ordinance, to amend ordinance number 1682.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Clerk, will you call the question?
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3.
Aye.
Council President,
Aye.
place 5.
All right.
Make a
So-
motion to continue. I'll make a motion to continue phase 3 of our emergency conservation of the previous ordinance until this ordinance becomes advertised and open.
Can I ask you to amend that slightly and say, or the, well, I was gonna say, unless you got a rain event, you could say that.
Yeah. Well, that would be,
Well.
We can always call
so-
another meeting to do that.
Well,
Yeah, that would
I
be going
think,
to the- I wouldn't
yeah,
wanna mix it
I
up.
think what you
I-
could, I think what you could do here is just very simply that the order or the ordinance for Phase 3 stays in place.
That's right.
Until
that's what
council makes a decision or
Or the
the
provisions of the new
provisions of the
ordinance
new
kicks in.
ordinance are
Kicks in.
kick in.
Yeah, there you go.
So you want
Have a
to
second?
amend your,
well, I said that, just, let's make a motion for phase 3 to continue, per the old ordinance, or until council makes a decision, per the governing body, to activate the new ordinance. Is that what you guys want?
no. I think if you say Phase 3 continue under the old ordinance, then that means it expires on Tuesday and everybody can water on Wednesday. I think you got to say that we're entering to stay in phase, to decide affirmatively to stay in Phase 3
Until otherwise.
until either the
determined by
council makes a
council.
decision or
Yeah, okay.
the parameters of the new ordinance are met.
Okay. So we'll stay in, we'll amend to stay in the old phase 3 until council decides otherwise.
Until parameters
Or
of
until this new ordinance comes into effect. Yep. I think that's it.
Okay. All right, I've got a motion.
Second.
I've got a second. Any further discussion?
Well, if we stay in the current ordinance, I mean, that people might be upset, but maybe it is what it is at this point, but people can still wash their cars under this phase of the.
I did see somebody say just wash your car in the grass.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
I don't see a way.
I don't see a way to, with that, what Lisa's telling us, I don't see a way to, which, I don't know if that makes no sense. I don't know when emergency, but,
I was gonna say, I think the whole washing the car thing was because Monday through Thursday, people are working. And so we're probably not gonna be, but.
so they got 9 days to get it
This time
in.
of year,
Yeah,
wash the car.
minus the weekdays, so maybe less than 9. We'll stick with that. It's very
People Put their
convoluted.
car out in the yard and put a sprinkler on top of it, tell them they were knocking the dust off.
That was not my idea. That was on Facebook.
Very convoluted.
Don't read it.
So what's the soonest that this is, back to business, what's the soonest that this new ordinance that we just adopted goes into effect?
August 23rd.
I mean, it is what it is.
It's the soonest the newspaper can
We
advertise.
cannot declare this new ordinance, there's no way to do that by law. That's what we're
No,
saying.
it gets codified in the permanent ordinance, and what happens is if it has to do with the welfare and the safety and everything for the citizens, and it's for the citizens, it has to be advertised correctly. It's not like a state of emergency.
But passing a resolution that says we remain in phase 3 until the parameters of the new ordinance are met, essentially accomplishes the same thing.
So, okay,
Well, I mean, yeah.
except there's stuff in the old ordinance that we were trying to get rid of to conserve water,
I
but
don't know how
I
many people out
get
there
it.
washing
Yeah,
their
we can't win
cars.
them all. Council President, you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think that through.
Yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't take effect until there is a legit time to
And I wish I would have known that.
advertise it, entering, I mean, and I mean, that, the rules are the rules, trust me.
Let me say
Yeah.
this, though, if that new ordinance goes into effect on the 23rd,
23rd.
nothing says you can't count those days that we were below capacity for, the previous 7 out of 10 days.
No,
You're
I
not
mean,
erasing
look,
the calendar.
If
If it rained between now and then too, it could be.
if it rains tomorrow, 1.5 inches, we're out of
We're out
it.
of
That's right.
That's exactly right.
I mean, based on the motion that Corey made, if it rains an inch and a half tomorrow, then
Well,
we're
it depends
out.
if you got it, if the demand averages are below a certain.
Well, yeah,
Right.
assuming that today and
Percent-wise.
tomorrow we haven't jumped back up into the 8 million
Yeah.
gallon range, then we're out.
So you're really no harm, no foul by adopting that. It's only gonna help. It's never gonna hurt the person.
No, we're doing fine by adopting it. What I was concerned was adopting it and having it go into effect fully as we adopt
Trying to get-
it.
you're trying
That's
to
why
catch it,
I
you
thought
can't.
that's why we were immediately considering it. But that's a push there.
Yeah.
Not under the law, you're home.
That's right. I mean, yeah, yeah.
Well, I know that during COVID, when we declared an emergency, I mean, all the masks and you can't go to the pier and everything else took effect immediately. I guess because, did we have a sunset on that?
Well, and I don't know if it was I mean,
It wasn't
again.
in permanent nature?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean.
that would have been.
Put an
probably
expiration
temporary
date on this
settlement.
ordinance, it wouldn't be permanent in nature?
Yeah, but we
It's
So
already,
you gotta
permanent
address it
nature.
again, potentially.
yeah. Look, as difficult of a decision as this is, and as difficult of an issue as it is to begin with, I don't want to do anything that's
That's right.
murky,
Set us back.
murky in the
That's right.
rules. It either is or it isn't.
Just go with the resolution. And we can- If we find something different, we can call an emergency and come back and set it straight.
All right.
It's kind of crazy, but I think legally you could say this ordinance expires December 31st, 2023.
Well, but then you still have one in place too. You have two ordinances
We
that,
have to.
one in permanent, one in
So
temporary,
which
and
one
they
do they go by?
they compete with each other.
That's right.
Yeah.
You still
Yeah.
have that one that's permanent.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we'd really be coming in and out of it every other 2 days.
Well, the mayor.
Well, it would, yeah.
All right, well, we've got a motion and a second.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Aye. Was that not a roll call vote?
Yeah, we
No,
lived
it's
this long
not.
washing a
No,
car.
that was,
Okay.
You only gotta deal with it 9 more days, and that's it.
I
I
don't
don't think it's that big of a deal.
All right, guys. Item number 8 is a resolution authorizing Mayor Sherry Sullivan to appoint special prosecutors. And if you look at item number 8, it's got a list of 5 potential special prosecutors that will be necessary if our current city attorney is conflicted out of certain cases.
Had one to add to that.
Yeah, please, Jimmy.
Could we add Attorney Rob Stankowski to that list?
All right. Adding Rob Stankowski to the list of 5. Now there's a list of 6 in the resolution.
I've just got to ask, is the W. Lee Webb, he's obviously not the banker then?
Not the banker leader.
No.
Okay. I'm just wondering.
he went back to school. He's the banker's son.
No.
No.
He's an elementary.
A different banker's son then, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
And that's in $100 per hour, correct?
Yeah.
Council President?
that is correct.
It's not on there.
Was it 100 an hour or 100 flat fee to serve as
Which
special
one is it?
prosecutor?
That's my question.
I don't know, it just says $100.
You're right. That's what I thought.
He turned it down.
I think it's,
Should be able to handle
I don't think it's 100 flat fee. That's a
100
that's a
for
slap to your,
unlimited hours.
That's the way it reads. That's the way it reads, I think.
Yeah.
it's flat.
That's the way it reads to me.
That's what I
what it
thought,
is.
but that's why I'm questioning it.
I don't know.
That's why I'm
Sounds
questioning
good.
it.
Yeah, these are like, if you're coming to municipal court, though, they're not there for very long. They may come
That's
in
right.
for one, and it may only last 10 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, so it's per case.
Yeah, or they may have to come back multiple
So
times.
it is.
It's
not
per
an
case,
hour.
yeah, but they're probably going to get in and out.
Okay.
They're gonna be
I just
there
wa-
less than an
I-
hour.
It was, yeah. So
It
I
probably
just
comes
wanted
out to
make sure.
$400 an hour if you build them in a quarter hour.
Hey, every case is different. Some of them hear you for a while, some of them you come back multiple times. You just,
I just didn't know you.
you just take, you
$100.
just take the,
Okay.
if you're here for 20 minutes, good day for you. If you're, come back 3 times, you might wish you hadn't.
So it's a flat. Okay. Just, hey.
All right.
It's a case.
We've got the addition of Rob Stankowski to the list already on the resolution. Do I have a motion?
I move to adopt the amended resolution, adding the Stankowski.
All right. I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 9 is a resolution that certain items are declared surplus, and mayor and the city treasurer are hereby authorized and directed to dispose of personal property owned by the city of Fairhope by one of the 4 methods listed on the resolution.
So moved.
Second?
All right, and just for the record, we're talking about a couple of vehicles, Caterpillar generator, a bead blaster. What's a bead blaster?
Like a sand blaster.
Sand blaster.
All right.
Just use beads.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 11 is a resolution that Mayor Sherry Sullivan is hereby authorized to execute a contract extension number 1, Disaster Debris Removal Monitoring Services 2022 with True North Emergency Management LLC.
I think you
Per the,
skipped one.
10.
oh, I'm sorry, scratch, number 10. The City of Fairhope awards for rehab engineering services for Doghouse Lift Station Project to Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc., and hereby authorizes Mayor Sherry Sullivan to negotiate a fee schedule and establish a not-to-exceed limit with this firm.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Yeah.
Motion
This is,
carries.
Grant money for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. Item number 11 is that a resolution that Mayor Sherry Sullivan is hereby authorized to execute a contract for extension number 1, Disaster Debris Removal Monitoring Services 2022 with True North Emergency Management LLC per the terms and conditions of the original contract.
Wanna-
We'll make a motion.
Yeah. I make a motion to approve them.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Yeah, any further discussion?
I was just going to say, this is one of those that, there's no cost unless we have a disaster, in which
Right.
they actually have to do monitoring.
Right.
Yeah, and I was going, that's what I was, it's not really anybody that's getting the press part of it. There's really no old contract in there to compare to. And I think because of what Jack said is the logic behind that, I'm assuming, just to put that out there, and we did notice that as well.
I believe that during the Hurricane Sally cleanup, that really paid big dividends for us, which makes us look responsible so that when we get reimbursed by FEMA, it makes that process a lot more efficient. And, I think we fully recovered all of our costs.
Yeah,
And I think they did a really good job from what I understand.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 12 is a resolution that Mayor Sherry Sullivan is hereby authorized to execute a contract for extension number 1 of on-call contractor for gas department with Equix Energy Services LLC as per the terms and conditions of the original contract. The annual cost not to exceed is $200,000. Wes, will you just come up just for a minute, please?
Yep. Same thing with this one.
And just give us a
Yeah, so this is an extension. So we had this exact same dollar amount last year. So we're extending the contract. Basically, this is for time and safety sensitive gas issues that arise throughout the year. And also, this is a drastically reduced price based on the fact that we're going to guarantee them this much work. They're giving us a significantly reduced price in labor, materials, mobilization and demobilization costs that eat us up with hey, we need you tomorrow. We don't have this contract. They really stick it to us. So This is giving us a lot more bang for our buck. We hate to use the word bang in the gas department, but it does actually give us more.
Just out of curiosity, what did you, how much of it did you use last year?
I have one project remaining, and I will use every penny
This
of it.
year? Okay.
In West, there's not a whole lot of change order, an itemized
No, sir,
engineering
none,
costs.
none.
Okay, very
It stays
good.
exactly the same.
Very good,
It's the way that we can extend it.
very good.
Okay.
You're getting pretty good. You're answering the questions before we even ask them.
I try.
I make a motion, we approve the resolution as presented.
Second?
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion for Wes? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Item number 13 is a resolution that Mayor Sherry Sullivan is hereby authorized to execute change order number 2 for asbestos abatement Fairhope K1 Center with a cost of $1,245.80, and to award change order number 1 to Hernandez Demolition and Remediation LLC. The new contract total will be $71,274.20. Should that be award change order number 2? Okay.
Yeah.
So change order number 2 is for the
Yeah,
1,200.
on the actual resolution,
Right.
it says 2.
Okay.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute change order number 2.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So, Mayor Richard, I'm just questions here. We keep getting change orders with this particular asbestos. Is this because we're continuously finding new problems, or just a question?
Very simply put.
Yes, sir.
When I came for the first change order.
Yes, sir.
I made a boo-boo, okay?
Oh, okay.
They had quantified the remaining square footage, and we applied it to the contract numbers and came in for a change order. What I did not verify was that square footage was under another floor that they had to remove.
Okay.
So that 1,200 and some change was
Yeah.
the cost of removing the floor to then remove the floor underneath it that had the asbestos.
Okay,
So
no worries.
I was trying to be so responsive to make sure we were getting change orders to you. I kind of outran my coverage on this one.
Okay, yeah, no worries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
But we're done.
Okay, yeah. We don't, yeah, we don't, thank you. Yeah.
All right, guys, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 14 is a resolution to award for citywide road repair, resurfacing, and striping project for the Public Works Department to Asphalt Services, Inc., with a total bid proposal not to exceed $900,792.38. And we discussed this in work session. Obviously, this number is over budget, but includes some additional projects, including the repaving of the Civic Center and the Pecan Street.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, we-
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, we didn't spend a whole lot of time because time left us. And as you notice, we're going into some of these, in the past, we kind of go through these very quickly, but because we didn't have time in the work session, because we had so much on our plate, we're kind of spending a little bit more time asking questions during the actual meeting, and it's a longer meeting, so just bear with us tonight. But I think this is, we have to do this as we discussed, even though we're 400,000 plus over the budget, but we have the funds to do it, and these, as far as priority, in my opinion, I think this is something that really needs to be done as far as the community is concerned.
Okay.
What were the two, I see the Pecan building, that's 71, and the City Hall, so that's 189, 190, 190,000 of that is attributed to those additional, so that's 190 out of the 400,000 over budget. So the bids came in 210,000 over budget. Let's make sure we get all the facts now. So 210,000 over what would have been 600,000 is 30, roughly 33% over budget. Was that because we didn't use the most recent cost to overlay, or did it go up that much more? I know you talked about, the cost of this going up, but did it go up 33%? I mean, or do we have enough bids? I mean, do we need to?
if there's, and there's something, this is kind of one of the situations that I think we've kind of discussed, some of us, where, is this not one, Richard, where we can say, this is our budget, okay? This number is our budget. This is the work we're looking for. Do not go over this number. You know, and I see a lot of times since I've been here on council in my novice, you know, we put a number out and we take the lowest budget, or bid, excuse my French, but we never give a low bid budget, meaning this is what we have, come under this and we'll work with you.
Right.
Like, is this not one of the ones where we could have played with that?
And I think and maybe it's unfair to y'all, is in the project, we basically develop out a project for each road, and we quantify what work has to be done, how many square yards of milling, how much tack, how much asphalt, everything that goes in that job. And then they bid that on a quantity price. The reason that we set it up where we can cut it and go back and forth, and I think the real challenge this year was, you know, there was actually some additional roads that probably should be on this list, but we had to get to a point of the cutoff. You know, and the problem is you can't kind of, other than Seacliff, this is the only road you can pave half of it because the other half belongs to the county. You just can't pave half of a road, meaning that just causes all kind of problems. So you kind of got to go from intersection to intersection, and it's just where it laid. I mean,
Well, let me ask you that though. I mean, it's okay to be over budget if we're doing slightly more than what you budgeted for.
Yeah.
So are we looking at apples to apples comparison with the addition of those two projects? Or if you took those two projects out, we're truly 33% over what you projected it would have cost?
One project is
Yeah.
budgeted. So.
And I get it. I mean, if you really put in, you know, if you put in 700 feet, but you paved 1,000 to get that in a road, and that's why you went over budget, but.
So the Civic Center has a budget of 75,000. So the Civic Center's there, but goes back to funding. I mean, for Richard's relying on me. So when it comes down to putting it in the budget, I'm looking at how much money is in Rebuild Alabama Fund, a state fund. We're looking at how much cash is coming in from the state gas tax. And then we look at what's coming from impact fees. And then I put that 400,000 to show him, like, this is all the funding I have that's related to resurfacing. So then he's got over here, when actual comes in, he has his list of needs. And that's what y'all have, that list of needs.
Yeah, but when you put your numbers together, you basically come up with a number and you say, all right, how many linear feet can you resurface based on this number? And you pick the project. So you might go a little over or under that budget. So did you go over that budget by 33%? Or which is really not even 33% because part of the parking lot was in there.
Yeah.
Or is it the cost of construction?
Well,
still
I
trying
think
to get back
a
to
big
the
part of
cost
it's cost of construction, but that's not all of it. I think that the challenge is that we in Public Works and working with the mayor is we develop a priority list. And at some point in time, we stop on that list to put together a project, which we did. And, you know, I will be honest with you, I did on the budget project worksheet, I did an engineer's estimate, and my number was every bit close to about $900,000 for all of it. So I knew going to bid that we were going to be more than what we had in the dedicated fund dollars just for resurfacing, which comes from the gas taxes and the impact fees.
Did the bidders know how much you estimated or how
No,
much?
that's one thing I don't share.
Because we've learned, if you put a number out in public, that's exactly where your bid's coming back,
So.
plus 10%.
It's also kind of like y'all were talking earlier.
It's hard to call the list, knowing the needs that are out there. And if you go and drive the roads and you see them, you're like, yeah, this really does need to be repaved. We shouldn't take it off the list. So Richard and I are both kind of in that position too, because I have people calling me all year long, and those lists are posted, and they have to be posted based on Rebuild Alabama on that law. So they know where they are on that priority list. And when you start moving things around, I mean, they get upset. But again, I mean, there's other factors that play into it.
I've called Richard a couple of times about people without that
Yeah,
list, so.
you know, I don't think nobody up here especially is questioning the needs at all.
Yeah, we know we
I
do.
just trying to find out where the number came from and why it was off a little bit. I want a little bit more detail because, you know, you have stood before us and said that I think you should reject them all. So, I'm hoping that when you by the time it gets to us, you've already vetted that. And if you thought that it was out of line, you would say, we should rebid it.
And I will tell you, when you look at the two bidders and go down road by road, they're pretty close, actually.
They were close.
And
6%, that's darn close.
yeah, no, and they're both two good.
They are.
Both those contractors
I agree.
have done
I
paving
agree.
work, projects for us
But
too.
we always analyze, we always
Yeah.
self-analyze.
So, no, we knew that what we had on the list probably exceeded what was in the dedicated paving funds. And this may be presumptuous, but I know that we had discussions that we were in a kind of a blessed period with some available capital dollars. And part of that decision matrix was that, hey, if there's something needs to get done, this is the year to do it if we have those capital funds. And then Kim whispered in my ears earlier, reminded me that the pecan building technically belongs to electric, so she's going to bill them for that part of it. So, thank you, Ben.
Water is in the building, but the electric department actually purchased that building. So it's on the books. So the improvements would technically, who owns that building?
You charge a water rent?
I don't even know if they pay their electric bill, to be honest with you.
All right, guys, I think we do have a motion and a second.
Yep.
Am I right? All right, any further discussion on item 14? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 15 is a resolution that the City of Fairhope approves the procurement of the renewal of Cradle Point NetCloud Essentials subscriptions and yearly support. And these are on the Alabama State Department of Purchasing bid list, and therefore does not have to be let out for bid with a cost not to exceed $15,848.
Make a motion, we approve.
All right, I've got a motion. Who is this for, Mayor? What?
This is Jeff.
Is this Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff.
Will you come up here and just give us a brief?
It's a yearly renewal for our Cradle Points. Basically, a Cradle Point is a mobile router. They're in our police cars, they're in recreational sites. They run remote time clocks that are outside the footprint of our fiber network. And so this subscription gives us IT the ability to remotely support and remotely control them.
And Jeff, it's about almost $6,000 over budget.
Yeah, interesting story. I forgot about that. We had an account rep change on us last year, and we did not get a renewal notice for last year. So we didn't actually renew last year. And we lost control of our Cradle Points, and I called and they said I got bad information that the Cradle Points that we have are no longer going to be supported. So I was like, okay, well, so I started looking for another solution. Then come to find out, the new account rep ended up calling me and saying, no, they're still supported. You just hadn't paid for your renewal. So we never got notice. So we're paying basically for 2 years.
Okay. Okay.
Trying to catch up.
Okay, because I don't remember this one.
All right. All right, council, I have a motion. I will entertain a second.
I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions for Jeff on item 15? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 16 is a resolution that the City of Fairhope approves the procurement of the renewal of 27 annual subscriptions of Citizen Serve software and authorizes procurement allowed by the Code of Alabama 1975, Section 41-16-51A11, with a total amount not to exceed $40,500.
So this item was added because we had budgeted $30,000 for not Cradle Point, Citizen Serve renewal, which was accurate when we budgeted, but we've added people to the software. Since we've added people, then now we've got to pay more for support or for the licenses. So that's why we're coming to you asking for about $10,500 more.
Looks like $7,500 more.
7,500, okay.
Okay. How many users did we add, do you know?
There's 27 on here, I don't know.
Yeah, it's 1,500 per, yeah, so we got 27 total that we have now. I can't remember how many we had. The math is there, I can't do it in my head, though.
It's been 22.
But we've sat down and we verified that the users that we have on the system now are using it and should be on there. So we're not paying for like extra licenses that aren't being used. These 27 that we're asking to purchase now are being utilized.
These are various departments.
Various departments, ranging from building, revenue, planning, water, electric. Everybody is.
All right, guys. I will entertain
So
a
moved.
motion. Got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 17 is a resolution that the city of Fairhope approves the procurement of a John
Manure, I think.
Manure
That's all I'm
Rotopack
going with.
screw compactor for the wastewater treatment plant with a
It fits
total
perfectly.
cost not to exceed $29,765.31.
So moved.
Okay, I've got a motion
Second.
and a second, and it is $8 under budget. All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say, oh, sorry, I was the wrong one. That's not $8 on the budget. I lied. Hope it doesn't change your opinion. This one's
It's under, yeah.
$14,238. Sorry. Spoiler alert, next one, $8 under. All right.
How long will it take to get this in?
All right,
6 to 8 weeks most likely.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's made up in Canada, so they actually have to manufacture the parts, put it together.
Okay.
This is what we talked about on the tour.
all right. So we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 18 is a resolution that the city of Fairhope approves the procurement of 476 media pink 20D aluminum clips for the wastewater treatment plant with a total cost not to exceed $19,992.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 19 is a resolution that the city of Fairhope approves the procurement of a maintenance support plan for the Hewlett-Packard plotter with a 3-year agreement with a not-to-exceed amount of $2,336.28, annual cost $778.76, and authorizes Mayor Sherry Sullivan to execute the agreement.
This was not even, I
So
don't know, if
moved.
this, I think this broke, obviously, and we had to replace it, I think. Was it in the
I
budget?
couldn't remember why I submitted this. This is, I had to bring this before council because the mayor has to sign the agreement. What this agreement is a support agreement for a plotter that was brought to you in March. The support agreement was left off. And so the support agreement gives us toner, and if we have a problem, they'll come and fix it. We learned the hard way a couple years ago that if you have a broken plotter, it's going to cost, it could cost way more than this support plan, so it's $2,300 for insurance, basically,
Okay,
and toner.
okay.
All right, council?
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 20 is a resolution that the city of Fairhope hereby amends the budget for the FY 2022-2023 as recommended and presented in said resolution and authorizes the city treasurer to make the necessary changes. Come on,
What are we
Kim.
doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I move to make the changes to the 2022-2023 budget.
All right, I've got a motion
Second.
and a second. Kim, you want to just briefly explain what we're doing here?
Yes, so the 49,049,889, those were barricades that we had coded in the budget as a capital item, but because the barricades itself individually is not at a value to be capitalized, so we purchased those out of the small equipment, so that's just kind of truing up, putting it where it should have gone, and because of the large dollar amount. And then the second item, where you say insurance claim of $30,608, so we received insurance proceeds but in the police department, they had some vehicles repaired. And so that's really true, and that's true in that up, we received the income to increase that income and to increase their budget for the repairs to those vehicles and a capital, money going to capital for that vehicle that got totaled. And then the next part, the total of $64,587, portion of that is for capital improvements of $27,862. That is for improvements that's being done to the new precinct on Greeno Road. And then for rental lease, $36,725. So that was for us to improve that for when y'all took action to lease that building. And then you'll have item number 22 that's related to the impact fees. The impact fees would be authorized, and you use the impact fees to come over to general fund to cover for those costs.
So Kim, on the capital, Council President, if I may.
Please.
On the capital improvements, did we just, it was unbudgeted, so we're just now putting it, we added that to the budget, so now you're just kind of cleaning it up by?
On which item?
The capital improvement and the property rental lease.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
you just
That,
kinda-
that's, and that's gonna be authorized, and if you'll see the $64,587,
Okay.
that's saying money's gonna come from impact fees.
Yeah, I'm just making, yeah, sure, I understand.
All right, council, I have a motion and a second for item number 20. Any further discussion or questions for Kim? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 21 is a resolution that Mayor Sherry Sullivan is hereby authorized to write a letter in support to endorse the South Alabama Regional Planning Commission's application for the Protect Grant.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 22 is a resolution that the City Council hereby authorizes Mayor Sherry Sullivan to expend impact fees from the impact fee account for the new police precinct located at 329 South Greeno Road for renovations and rent for the police benefit areas not to exceed $64,587.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 23 is a resolution that the City of Fairhope approves the procurement of 2 police car engines with a total cost of $12,624.44 and awards the RFQ to Terry Thompson Chevrolet.
Two police cars.
2 police car engines.
Oh, engines for only 12,000.
All right, I got a motion
So moves.
and a second.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion?
What kind of engine are those? Those,
5.3 liter.
they're 5.3 hopped up?
Yeah, please
Okay.
accept, yeah.
Just wondering what it cost me to get one for my truck.
It'll give you the same problem. A little more.
All right. I've got a motion and a second, guys. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 24 is a resolution that the City of Fairhope accepts and approves the recommendation by Mayor Sherry Sullivan to name the Clock Corner property Gaston Plaza.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
You know, Council President, I missed that meeting, and I sent you an email that day, you know, advocating for this name, actually, so thank you. I have since had, and I don't want to change it, but I did have someone that knows a little bit about naming opportunities and facilities, and they said that Plaza is almost exclusively for a Spanish property, and that's what I was told.
We're speaking
I'm
technicalities.
looking for them in here. They're not here. He's not. Did he talk to you about that? Did I articulate that right? And, I mean, he said that, you know, we weren't founded by the Spanish here, although I think we were Spanish West Florida for a while, so, I don't know. Yeah, we were
Okay.
Spanish West Florida.
I'm kind of, Gaston.
Oh, maybe.
Just brought it up.
You could call it a square, you could call it,
You want to change it?
No, I like the plaza. I like plaza still.
I mean,
For all our history buff stuff here, I don't really think it's gonna matter one way or the other.
Meet me at GP.
yeah.
I can tell him I raised the question.
Because they're gonna,
Well, God
since they're
bless
gonna
you.
call it the clock corner from now to a million years, no matter what.
I thought so we decided not Gaston Corner. We said Gaston Plaza. I see. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I think Gaston's supposed to.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Gaston. Yeah.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 25 is a recommendation from the Recreation Board to extend Fairhope Storm Football's contract on a year-to-year basis for use of WC Majors Field.
So moved.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion?
Have they been paying on time now? Have we had any more, John, have we had any more issues out there? Since I think y'all had a talk with them?
Yeah, they cleaned all that up.
Okay.
Yeah. And Coach maybe was here. I don't know if he's here or not.
He's right.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Coach is here. Yeah.
All right, council, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 26 is an appointment to the Board of Adjustments and Appeals, and that is Brian Flowers as the second alternate member for a term that shall end August of 2026.
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 27 is an application for a special retail license for more than 30 days by Jarrett Crum, Gulf Coast Pinball LLC, DBA Fairhope Pens and Pints, located at 212B Fairhope Avenue, Fairhope, Alabama. All good with this application? Yes, sir. All right, council, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the special retail license.
Okay, got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 28 is an application for restaurant liquor license by Nancy Dupree, Ray's Kitchen LLC, DBA Ray's Kitchen, 76 South Section Street, Unit B, Fairhope, Alabama. All checks out. Okay. Council, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 29 is an application for restaurant liquor license by Thomas Ginnon, TBT Fairhope LLC, DBA The Blind Tiger, located at 1 Beach Road, Fairhope, Alabama. Good to go. Thank you, sir. All right, council, I'll entertain a motion for item 29.
So moved.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? What's the targeted, Mayor, what's the targeted opening date? We don't have one yet?
I haven't given you one yet.
Okay. All right. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
One quick, John, this special liquor license, you gave us a definition. Are they actually marking the right box, some of these people with the special liquor license? Or should they just be marking the liquor license? Since you gave us the definition that our council president asked of.
Then the mayor gave us a more current actual update. I can tell you this, if they're not sneaking anything past this time, it's not proper, it's not getting by.
No worries. Very good, sir.
All right. So for 29, we have a motion and a second, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 30 is an application for a restaurant liquor license by John Mattis Sports Biz LLC, DBA Tammy's Sports Bar and Grill, located at 210 Eastern Shore Shopping Center, Fairhope, Alabama. Checks out. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
It's a very suspect. There's references I'm not sure about, and I really think we ought to consider this. I'm kidding.
He needs a special liquor license.
All All right, we got a motion and a second.
Yes, you did.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, item 31 is something we walked on, and that is to change the next scheduled meeting from August the 28th to Tuesday, August 29th.
That's including the work session, correct?
That's including the work session, correct.
So,
And I'm assuming we could start it on August 29th at normal time,
that's what I was about to
4:30
ask.
and 6. Okay. All
I
right.
move the regularly scheduled city council meeting of August 28th to Tuesday, August 29th with the same times.
Thank you, sir.
And can we start looking by any chance, Lisa, at those other dates to see what possibilities we have?
And I've got 'em.
Yeah, if we can move it up, or make sure there's no advertising
Right, that's
issues
right.
for any of those dates.
And if we're going to have a work session or not.
Yeah,
Those two.
okay. All right, we've got a motion. Do I've got a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Thank you, guys. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, item 32 is public participation for non-agenda items. So if you've got anything to discuss that was not on tonight's agenda, now is your opportunity. Please come forward. You will have 3 minutes. State your name and address for the record.
My name's Clay Godwin. I live at 957 Charleston Loop. Proud new resident of Fairhope. I'm a retiree from Mobile. Glad to be here. This is a general budget question. Mr. Burrell brought up a significant point about the agenda item 7, that how much of it was revenue, irrigation represented in the moratorium. I was just wondering if the council has any concerns for the moratorium on the revenue, or I say the lack of, due to the elimination of irrigation funding for sewer and water.
I wouldn't imagine that would be a big hit.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Since our work session went long, I wanted to let you guys know, next council meeting, I've got to bring an item to you guys that has not been budgeted. We've got a core switch, piece of network equipment that's malfunctioning, that it's a core switch, meaning all the traffic, pretty much all traffic comes in and out of the switch, and it's deciding to reboot every couple of weeks, and we can't figure out why. And I've ran all the software updates, replaced all the parts that I could, but according to the manufacturer, it's just something internal that's malfunctioned. It's an old switch, so I've got to replace it, and it's not budgeted. It's about $24,000, and so I wanted to notify you before the next meeting so it's not caught off guard about the unbudgeted item. But I have money in the budget to cover it. I just wanted to let you know.
Jeff, I would like you to know that they did not start your 3 minutes on the timer, so.
I kept it under 3 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? All right, seeing no one, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Anybody opposed? No. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.